The Precious Cargo project has now run for the third consecutive year. This year the students have been inspired by the Natural Science Gallery. So subjects that the students have researched incorporate many different things, minerals and rocks, to taxidermy, to cells and plant life, to dinosaurs. So a broad range of primary inspirational sources have been used to inform their design work.
The museum runs a programme called Genesis. It's about engaging with 14 to 24-year-olds in creative projects. They look at our collections, they take inspiration from them, and they create their own work, which helps to interpret the objects on display.
We're 9 students involved in the projects in total. All of them have different specialisms. Some of them want to go into design, some of them want to go into pattern cutting and construction, some have interests in journalism and the written side of things, so they're quite a diverse group.
We have over 1 million scientific objects, including rocks and minerals, taxidermy, and most of them are in storage. We can't physically fit them in the museum. This project allowed students to go behind the scenes, to go into the stores, have a look at some of these hidden objects. They then created designs based on those collections, which we have on display.
The students had to pick 2 or 3 objects or artefacts from the Natural Science Gallery, and then they had to pick up on a concept behind the object to broaden out the thinking to inform the garment that they produce. For example, they had to look at sustainability, extinction. Some students just focused on the process of taxidermy, for instance.
3 of the costumes were based on our moa skeleton. The moa is really unique in that we have the most complete moa skeleton in the country. Our moa actually has traces of fur and flesh still on it, which makes it very special. The moa is a huge flightless bird that went extinct 500 years ago. And it's these aspects that the students took. So we have a design based on the size and the proportion of the moa to give it a sense of the scale.
There was 3 different approaches to the garments this year: a digital approach where the students mapped out stories and worked the design work into it, a 3D initial approach where students would respond very directly, working on the mannequin to the visuals or objects that they'd seen, and the students that took more of a traditional approach and would come back and sketch ideas.
They all started with a very basic fabric and colour palette, but actually what they've done with that is very diverse.
It's all been manipulated through from the idea to the fabrics to represent wholly the concept that they intended right at the beginning. So it fulfills that textural aspect, and it closes the loop as well, so you don't just get that sketched idea. Every aspect has been thought about and represents something in the original artefacts that they looked at.
This design is influenced by the textual detail in the taxidermy of the great auk. The great auk had a very sad history. It went extinct in 1844 when the last 2 adults were killed by 2 fishermen hunting for eggs.
Students get many things out of a project of this kind. They get direct contact with an external client, so it's representative of how they would work after graduation and working in industry, so they get very direct feedback from an external source, which is invaluable really at that level of study. They also get the opportunity to showcase their work in a different environment to college. Not only is it a different environment that it's outside the building, but it's a museum setting. So it takes it out of that fashion show setting, and it's a static representation. So in a lot of ways the students get a lot more freedom creatively to produce something that may not be as functional as it would be if they were working on a more commercial project.
The museum takes part in lots of projects with 14 to 24-year-olds. They're an audience that doesn't visit the museum very often, and what actually we get from it is their viewpoint, their interpretation of our collections, which is really valuable.
Whether they go into teaching, which is something I'm thinking of going into, or lingerie designing or journalism, it's an important project for them all to have in their portfolio.